Hey, this is Troy from Now with Troy, and today I want to talk about assessing and planning, right? Fun, fun. I can't believe that next week is the last week in July. I know myself, and as I talk to other people, it's like, where has July gone? It's been like a post-COVID time warp. And I think some of it is, it's been busy. It's summer where we get to get outside and enjoy being outside, but also getting a chance to meet with people in person. I know for me, that's been fun to start to do that again. And I hope you've had a chance to do that too. But the other thing that marks July is really looking at how has have things changed? For me, when I started with Thirdera in March, things have taken off and it's been great. But I also wanted to take some time to step back and look and do some analysis and see what should we be doing differently. And so that's going to be the focus of today's episode. And so again, this is kind of the behind the scenes version. Thank you for joining and really spending some more time talking through what is assessment and how to do roadmap planning, particularly as it comes to ServiceNow and looking at the Now platform. One of the things that Thirdera does very well is assessment roadmap plan. And I want to talk about why that's important. And sometimes there's good times in our calendar year to do that, and other times as we see change and we see our business changing, we see the organization changing, we see the environment and the market that we operate in, it's time to take a step back and say, all right, because of these changes, we need to assess that and we need to look at how we can plan better. And I think it's important to be able to do that. And sometimes, I think there's some key things to think about as you look at how you do assessment roadmap planning. And a lot of that is expanding your view and expanding those that are involved in. I know I do that in my own life and also in my own work. You want other eyeballs to look at what you're doing. And it's that perspective, whether it's from outside of your organization or outside your department, it's very important. So I think that's going to be the focus of this is we say, how do you look at where you've gone so far? And as you step in and assess, step back and not look at it from where you've been immersed so closely. For ServiceNow, as we talk with more and more clients, one of the things we hear is just a growing backlog, a growing audience of people saying, I want to put more things on now. That's good, right? But it also means you've got competing demands. And I think in all of our lives, we have a lot of that. We have competing demands for a limited amount of time. And so how do we make the best use of that? And so as we think about roadmap planning and we think about this short little Now with Troy episode, I think that's the focus, is being able to step back. In the business world, it means stepping back and saying, what is our organization really there for? What's the purpose? And what do our shareholders, what do our boards, and what do our leaders want and desire? And more importantly, what's the audience? What's the clients that we serve? And how do we do that better? What have we done so far, and how do we change that so we can deliver more value to the marketplace and help our clients do better? And we have Thirdera doing that, and me, myself, are doing that as we look to serve people in the Colorado, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Wyoming territories. How do we help organizations to get more from ServiceNow? And so I think that's the focus. So with that, if I think through the video, there's a couple of things to take back is that it's important to do planning. Get some perspective that's outside so that you don't just get stuck and miss the forest for the trees. I'm surrounded by trees in Colorado. Love it. And then how do you take an assessment of where things are at? I'll show you some things where we not only look at what ServiceNow is doing, but take a step back and say, man, there's a lot of technology in organizations. And I'll drop in a screenshot as I'm doing my editing to kind of show an example of some of the things we find. And I think it's good. Many clients, when we show this slide, they're like, oh man, yeah, that's us. It's this spaghetti mess of all the things that make our organizations run, and often we forget the complexity that's there. And so part of an assessment is being able to take a good stock of where things are at, and where do we need that complexity, and where can we simplify it. And so we'll talk through that. And then the other thing we'll talk through is, as you do that planning, as I do the planning, look at the second half of the year, what are the things that we're going to do now, and what are the things that are coming up? And so that you have a very tactical and strategic plan going forward. And so that'll be the focus. And so with that, let me switch back over to here and start on this camera. And what we're going to talk about is really just, I'm going to clap. So watch your ears, because that's my audio marker as I go through and edit. And then we're going to produce the Now with Troy episode that's going to go on LinkedIn. This is a longer version. You'll be able to find it on YouTube. So again, thank you for engaging either way. And so let's get to it. Hey, this is Troy from Now with Troy, and today we're talking about assessments and roadmap planning. And it's the middle of the year, and if you're like many, what the heck happened to July? It's been like a time warp. Next week is the last week in July, and we're looking for the ending out the year, and it's a time to kind of regroup. And sports analogies, it's halftime. As you come out of halftime, what's the plan for the second half? And there's times in the calendar year to do assessments and planning and coming out with a new strategy or a revised strategy. But it can also happen when, in your environment, when the market changes, when demand changes, when there's new planning in the environment. You get through with one big project and you get some things in place, you kind of come up for air and say, all right, I've got 8 different competing demands for my team's time and for the organization to get work to work better in our organization. How do you do that? At Thirdera, we do that very, very well by walking alongside organizations. And there's some characteristics that we've found successful that I want to just share with you guys so you can do it on your own, or better yet, reach out to me and we'll find out how we can do that together. But as you do assessment planning, there's some key characteristics we found very, very important. So many times when we're in the midst of planning, you get immersed and kind of look at your own work and you get so focused on it. You need to step back and say, what's a real purpose? How can we get some outside perspective in? It might be people just outside your department, might be people from your leadership team, it might be people from an outside organization such as Thirdera, to ask those questions and help you get at the why. The why your customers work with you, the why that your board, your leaders, would like to see, and really balance out priorities. And by asking a lot of those why questions, as Simon Sinek would say, start with why. The why helps guide that assessment. And then look at where things are at. Take a good stock. We'll have a good slide that I'll show right here. As we work with technical organizations, often we'll see things that look like this. This is just an example. But what we'll see there is complexity, and some of that complexity is needed for us to run our organizations. Others we can simplify. And so part of our assessment roadmap, as we look at ServiceNow, we look at your overall business needs, is how can you find the things that matter most, prioritize, take a good stock of where you're at, and then come up with a plan that is both strategic, it aligns with your market's goals, your leadership's goals, but it also takes stock of where you're at and gives you a good tactical plan to say, let's start here. This is the first priority things we should do. And then we'll do this, and then we'll do this. And we can't predict the future. No one can, right? But we can see some good steps to do first and then walk through the next steps. And so I hope you've had a chance to enjoy July. I hope you had a chance to also take some stock and say in the last half of this year, how do you want to replan and realign? If you'd like some help with that, reach out to me. I'm easy to find on LinkedIn. Connect with me there, and let's schedule some time to just talk about, what would assessment roadmap planning look like, and how can we help you do that, whether you do that on your own or better yet, do that with us. Again, thank you for watching, and you have a great second half of the year. Thanks. Bye. And that's it. So now it's time for me to go and edit. Again, thank you for watching this longer version on YouTube. Subscribe and reach out to me if you've got some ideas or things that you'd like me to address in future episodes of Now with Troy. And again, love connecting with people. If we're not connected already, send a connection. Message me. Love to hear the things you're wrestling with, and you've got competing demands. Well, let's talk through it. Who should you kind of group together as kind of your guiding counsel to look at your priorities, to give you clarity around which things matter most, because that's a very common message. And then turn to your team and say, how do you help your team really stay ahead of the backlog and do the right work at the right time? So again, thanks so much. Bye-bye.